will Joe Burrow spend his whole career in Cincinnati?
Would it be a crime if we waste somebody's career here? Are they doing the things to make this guy happy? Do they make the playoffs this year, the Bengals? Inside Football is proud to have Joey as our presenting partner. Nicotine with a quick hit, long tail, in the strength of your choice. As a thank you for being part of Inside Football's crew, we teamed up with Joey to give you a 35% discount on your first order. Get it all at meetjoey.com/football. Hey, everybody, what's up? If you're new to what we're doing here, welcome. We're glad you're here, and thanks for stopping by. And before we get into the content, just a reminder to make sure you stay on top of everything we're doing. Make sure whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on our audio platforms like Amazon, Apple, Spotify for the podcast, make sure you click those like and subscribe buttons and that bell on YouTube so you will know right away every time we drop another episode. Back with you on Inside Football. Hope you're having a good day wherever you're consuming our content. Glad you're with us. Trey Wingo here with the unbelievable cast of characters and credentialed people in the game. Hall of Famer Cris Carter, Hall of Famer Brian Urlacher, longtime GM of the Arizona Cardinals Steve Keim, and longtime head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals Marvin Lewis. Marvin, the Cincinnati Bengals, I think, have had maybe one of the best off seasons they've had in a long time. They didn't make the playoffs again. It started with the injuries to Joe Burrow, even though they got off to a good start, which was unusual for them. They've been horrible in September. They were okay in September. They lose Joe Burrow, and they go through some transitions in the offseason, but they find another defensive force in Dexter Lawrence. It seems like this team has the potential to be as good, maybe, as the team that went to the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 56, the last time the game was played in SoFi, 23-20. What are your expectations for the Bengals right now?
Trey, knowing the Brown family like I do, they weren't satisfied at all last year. I happened to be there in Green Bay, Joe Flacco's first game as a starter. And, the move last year they made to bring in a veteran quarterback when they felt like they still had a chance to salvage the season, despite how the defense was playing after Joe Burrow went down. And when they set their sights on something, that's the one thing they did. The trade they made for Dexter Lawrence on draft day was just huge. And he brings, from what such leadership into the team, kind of the catalyst on defense they've been looking for, to match Joe Burrow over on offense. And that's what everybody's talking about in that building. They started 2 young linebackers last year. Now they're in year 2. They got to come through with them. And they got to come through and play better. They're good athletes, and they just got to understand how to play the game in the National Football League. But they really did bolster that defensive front, which is what they needed to do.
And Brian, just from your perspective, obviously, when they first made the trade, I was like, I don't know, 10th overall pick for Dexter Lawrence. And then I went back and watched some tape of Dexter play.
Yeah.
My God, that guy. When we were at Cowboys camp, we were talking to Tyler Booker, and I can't remember, Marvin, whether it was you or Steve that asked Tyler, what was your welcome to the NFL moment? It was Steve. And he said, it was trying to block Dexter Lawrence. Like, I did everything right against that son of a... And he just walked me back into the quarterback. I mean, that guy, I'm not saying he's Aaron Donald, but I'm saying he's that kind of presence in the middle of the defensive line.
He's a game wrecker, right? He's the guy that can just wreck your game plan from the middle of the field there. It kind of starts right there for most defenses. The guy over the ball, the guy that can get the pressure in the quarterback the quickest is the 3 technique or their nose, whichever one you're playing. They get in the quarterback's face the fastest. There's the ones that can change the tempo of the game. There were so many holes in that defense last year, Coach Lewis. I mean, they struggled, man. They're losing games 48-47. I think the Bears beat them 49-48 or 52-49. It was some crazy games. So they can obviously score points. You worry about defense, and is he enough to kind of keep them in games? Because they can definitely score points. They can't stop anybody. They couldn't stop him last year. He's definitely a big guy to fill in there, but we'll just see how they fill those parts around him.
Steve, what do you think about how this team has been assembled this year?
I love it, Trey. We've talked about this before. The rate of return on first-round picks is generally 50%. The analytics tell us that. to be able to get an established player and a guy who is a force in the middle is a tremendous pickup and a great asset for this organization. Obviously, when you have a quarterback like Joe, you know, not only do you have a great player, you have a tremendous leader and a guy that can bring unity to that locker room. So again, that rate of return is much better than a Ponzi scheme, Trey.
Good to know. I think that's important. Everything
good
is through a
point.
filter, and we will have a filter for that kind of discussion. CC, the interesting thing with the Bengals has always been for me is that they took care of the quarterback, and they made sure they took care of the quarterback by also taking care of both wide receivers. And you can make an argument or build a logical plan that, okay, maybe you take care of one of those receivers and you don't take care of the other one. You spread that money sort of in other ways. But they've made it pretty clear that if these things that are making Joe happy, they're going to try and make sure he's as happy as he can be.
Well, I think that it's a unique situation also, where you have the best 1-2 combination in Cincinnati. Now, Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson in Minnesota, they might have some type of argument, but I would say Cincinnati, by a small margin, is the best tandem thus far. Their quarterback, we know, is one of the best throwers. We're just wondering, is it going to be a crime that we only see a portion of Joe Burrow, like other great quarterbacks that we have seen that have been attached with franchise that couldn't support them? And will Joe Burrow spend his whole career in Cincinnati? So I know Marvin still has the ear of a lot of people in that organization. They're doing a lot of things that they have never done before. And I don't know about the Dexter Lawrence if it's going to work out long term, because now defensive tackles are making in the last 30 days 35 to 39 million. And his friends there at the Bengals, I think that they'll go have a pulmonary attack if they're paying that type of money to a defensive lineman. But that's the economics. And with the salary cap being over 400 million, if you're going to miss supporting your quarterback, that's either protecting your quarterback or getting them more weapons to be able to throw to. My biggest concern with Cincinnati is not the physicality of the defense, it's the physicality of the offense. Because when you pass that 40, 50 times, you don't have that punch. Your offensive linemen don't get enough reps firing out. And ultimately, when the weather changes, you're going to have to put your hand in the dirt and you're going to have to get some first downs by running the football. So for me, how physical can they be, and how is that developed, especially in that dreaded first 4 weeks of the season that the Bengals typically don't do well at?
Chris, that's a great point.
Is the growth and the maturity of Mims, the first round pick of 2 years ago, and how he came on and played, and that being the right tackle. That's what you need. And they've got a veteran center in Cris. I really thought last year Chase Brown kind of did some things I didn't know he could do, and as far as running the football. So, but yeah, the one thing they're not set up to do, they're a little bit better with Drew Semple at tight end because, basically Gesicki's, he's a big receiver.
Correct.
And that's what but they can put some pressure on you now with those damn big receivers. But you're right. I think they got to be able to run the football. And I know Zac, every time I talk to Zac, I know he gets a lot of shit for not running the ball enough. He says, Coach, I got the job because I'm trying to throw the ball, and we got Joe Burrow. But, but that's what it is. You have to be able to run the football, particularly now in that AFC North when you get down to those last 2 months of the season,
where the weather dictates a lot. Look, Inside Football is proud to have Joey as our presenting partner. Nicotine with a quick hit, long tail, in the strength of your choice. No tobacco leaf, no smoke, no spit. 36 flavors, 3 strengths, 108 ways to find yours. And if you're out on the golf course, a Joey in the cart is just as good as it is in the studio. Whether we're breaking down tape or breaking down the league, Joey's right there with us every episode. As a thank you for being part of Inside Football's crew, we teamed up with Joey to give you a 35% discount on your first order. Get it all at meetjoey.com/football. And you mentioned the physicality, CC. The one problem the Bengals have had in the Joe Burrow era is the physicality of the offensive line. Steve, this is a team that I believe, as long as and there are certain stats to me that are more telling than others, and not all sacks are on the offensive line. Some are on the quarterback. But I believe the Cincinnati Bengals pass blocking win rate, which is a weird stat, but I think it's very telling, has never been better than 25th the entire time Joe Burrow has been there. And Cece talked about, would it be a crime if we waste somebody's career here?
Yeah.
Have they done enough to address the deficiencies in the offensive line in Cincinnati?
Well, I think there are some good things that they've done, Trey, and Marvin talked about Mims at right tackle. The one thing I always thought as a general manager is when you look at your team and you look at your roster, to me, I always felt like throw gas on the fire, meaning that when you have a good side of the football and you have a great player like Joe Burrow, surround him with the talent that's necessary. And, do I think they've done enough yet? Maybe not. And they do need to run the ball more effectively to be able to balance that offense. But to me, as long as Joe Burrow can stay healthy, they are in the hunt.
So then the question becomes, and CC alluded to it, where is Joe Burrow's state of mind? I mean, it came out last year a little bit that he was like, I need to have fun doing this, and I'm not having fun. And he was very open and honest about that. And I think that if you're just really looking at who plays the position, which is the most important position in team sports in this country by a mile, it's not even close. On any ranking that you want to have, Joe Burrow is on the top 3 of that list. He's that good at passing the ball. He has all that ability. He has the mindset that I remember when I was doing the draft when he came out, and his AAU basketball coach said he was a 9-year-old kid or 10-year-old kid. They were down by 8 points and they thought it was over. He made 7 straight free throws and a couple of buckets at the end of the game to win the game. His coach then, who was a psychology professor at Ohio University, went up to his parents and said, Joe has the same traits as first responders and serial offenders. Like nothing bothers him. So he could have been Dexter, is what I'm trying to say. Good thing he used his talents for good. The question then becomes, Marvin, are they doing the things to make this guy happy?
I think we visited with a guy that got unhappy. And I think that moves the ball forward. And, that's my experience. That, there's no question when those things came out regarding Joe and so forth and what his feelings were. Am I beating my head against the wall? And so they made moves in order to help him feel they're invested in the football team, to help him reap all the ability that he has and everybody they've put together around him, and particularly on the other side of the ball, the other offensive lineman, Dylan Fairchild, going in his 3rd year now. So they've got some guys. And those guys have to come through. And but like we were talking about earlier, like Cris said, you have to take some pressure off dropping back 45, 50 times a game. Can't do that. It's hard to win a National Football League that way.
What makes you happy as a player or a coach or a winning? I mean, that solves a lot of problems in NFL. If you win games, that has a big impact on how you feel and how you're going to perceive your team as well. So if they're out there winning games, I think it's going to make him a lot more happy. He's got weapons around him, and that you can see they're invested with the Dexter trade. They're pretty invested in trying to win and getting great players around him. So now it's kind of up to him to go out there and stay healthy and win games. Because I guarantee you, if they win games, he will be happy. That's a fun part of football is when you win.
Winning is the ultimate deodorant. There's no question.
Yes.
You're winning, you'll put up with anything. And when you start losing, the same things that didn't bother you bug the shit out of you, right? Like that's the nature of the beast, right?
No question. I mean, the one thing about it, Trey, and I always said this in the National Football League, when you're head coach, general manager, or Hall of Fame player like the 2 gentlemen on this show, you win on a Sunday and you take a deep breath and you say, okay, we got to go win next week. If you lose, the sky is fucking falling for 3 days.
It's horrible.
You think the world's coming to an end. And it is a tough business to be in. And you got to be mentally sharp. The one thing, that's what I love about Joe Burrow. He is so mentally tough. He's a no-nonsense guy. You look back to his official visit to LSU when he left Ohio State. Ed Orgeron came out and he said, Joe Burrow said, I don't want to talk to you, coach. I don't want to hear the recruiting bullshit. I want to be able to make this decision on my own. And to his credit, he did the right thing and obviously brought him a national championship.
Arguably the greatest and most talented college football team of all time. Now, there are some other Miami teams and USC teams, I get it, that are up there, but that LSU team that Ed and Joe had running that year was absolutely incredible. But, Brian, you alluded to it, the health of Joe Burrow, right? This is a guy as talented as he has been, and again, as talented as any quarterback in football by any definition. As my friend Herm Edwards always liked to say, the best of ability is availability. Marvin, are you at all concerned that this is something that is going to continue to happen to Joe, or is it something that they made sure they've tried to take care of by making sure that O-line is going to be better than it has been in his entire career?
Well, they've taken those steps to try to make it better, but also I think as you call plays and formulate the offense, you have to put it together that way, take some pressure off of him that way, so he's not stuck there in that pocket all the time. Because Joe's a good athlete, he can move and slide and make throws on the move, and that's the thing that he can do that he doesn't get as much credit for, because he's like these guys like Tom Brady and Peyton, when they're 6'5" and 6'6", as tall as they are, they don't get credit for being an athlete like they are, just like Justin Herbert.
Well, Tom Brady runs like a baby giraffe standing up for the first time, so let's just be honest about that.
Hey, he got moves. Trey, he's got moves. I've seen him
Brian,
up close and personal.
I wasn't going to bring it up. I wasn't going to bring it up.
All right, man.
But there was that one time where he got you. He got that little stanky leg with that dead leg on you. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, but Trey, how much does this conversation show the importance of that position? Oh, yeah. 2013, 2014, I'm executive of the year when Carson Palmer was healthy. When he retired and he was hurt, I wasn't very good.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you that position is everything.
That's why
where do you go from Joe, though? If they're talking about getting rid of him, where do you go from there? I mean, I would think the next step is backwards from Joe.
Oh, you burn it down. I mean, the whole thing falls apart.
What do you do?
So you want to make sure
Mike
Joe's
Brown
as happy as he
loves
can be.
quarterbacks,
Let's just be honest
Yes.
about it.
Yeah.
What would be happy, like we said, is winning and making the playoffs. So let's go around the panel. Marvin, do they make the playoffs this year, the Bengals?
Yes.
Steve? Wow. Okay, Brian?
No.
Wow. CC?
Marvin's a homer.
Yeah. I am a homer on this one, though, but I'd like to go.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
I want to carry that group with me. We didn't even talk about Jonathan Allen beside Dexter Lawrence. God damn.
CC, yes or no?
Yes, I think the Bengals make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think if they're healthy enough and that offensive line protects him, I mean, Joe Burrow he's that good, and we'll see what happens. Just out of curiosity, Steve and Brian, why no? Steve, start with you.
I just think organizationally, I think there's too many questions. And I think that's something that's followed them throughout, the history of the Bengals. I do wonder if Joe's going to be able to stay healthy, and ultimately, again, I just think, I think Zac's done a nice job, but I don't know that he commands the team and the respect of the team as much as some of these head coaches in terms of discipline.
Brian?
For me, there's still too many questions on defense. I love Dexter Lawrence. I love the impact he can have on a game. But there's still so many questions to be answered on that defense. I don't know if one guy can solve all their problems.
Well, that was certainly the case last year. They tried to get rid of the defensive coordinator who had the keys to Patrick Mahomes, it seems, and that didn't really help the Bengals get better defensively in any way, shape, or form. So we'll see what happens. Thanks everybody for watching this episode of Inside Football. Make sure you check us out on YouTube, Inside FB Show, and also check out Inside Football on our Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and Instagram, and we'll be here all season. So we'll see you next time on another episode of Inside Football. So that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Hey, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button because the next video is about to drop. Has been curated just for you. Touchdown. I don't know what to do with my hands. This is awkward. Madonna, strike a pose, Vogue.